for the Marlins this year. The long wait is over. Adeiny Hechavarria. It is a getaway night for sure tonight. End of a three-game series. Look on out there, Marlins Park. The Nationals and the Marlins finishing off a three-game series with Miami's big offensive night last night, as the Fish and the Nationals will head their separate ways. Mike Redmond, another injury to deal with. You saw Adeiny Hechavarria's big home run. Guess what? He's out tonight with a sore elbow. He won't be facing the fastballer Ross Detweiler. Ricky Nolasco gets the ball for the Fish. Hi, everyone. Rich Waltz along with Tommy Hunt. Marlins have a chance to win the series, and for a club that has scuffled and been beaten down a bit to start the season, be a nice way to hit the road.
Be a nice way to hit the road. You'd like to see them sustain the offense that they put together last night.
The offense that the Marlins put together last night, almost of historic note for the Fish this year. The numbers adding up for a team that was starved for runs.
Look at the season highs in runs, close to hits, first home run, but then again, as you just mentioned, Hechavarria out of the lineup tonight. Ruggiano swung the bat well. Juan Pierre had 3 hits. And the key, 6 for 9 with runners in scoring position. That was a key number last night.
And that was the Marlins' first win against the Nationals this year. Remember, the Marlins and Nationals opened this season up at Nationals Park. And on that opening day, Ricky Nolasco was terrific, except for the 2 breaking balls he threw to Bryce Harper. Harper was sick last night. He's in the lineup tonight.
Well, you knew he'd get better real quick when he knew that Nolasco was on the mound. Ricky made a mistake with a couple of breaking pitches, but you give credit to Bryce Harper to put good swings on those pitches. Other than that, Ricky was tremendous pretty much in every start. He's throwing the ball well. Right now, though, Harper's in a 1 for 14. He's not swinging the bat very well.
All right, our Coventry Healthcare pitching matchups. We just talked about Nolasco. Ross Detweiler is not a crafty lefty. He comes right after you.
A little different than some of the lefties we talk about. Last outing for Detweiler, he threw 93% fastballs.
Oh, well, he'll go at the Fish tonight. Nolasco and Detweiler, Miami and Washington. Baseball tonight. The big bat was out last night. Of course it was back for batting practice tonight. As we finish the homestand next. And if you don't believe me, just ask Craig Minervini and Jeff Conine. Gents?
Why wouldn't we believe you, Rich? Good evening, everybody. Well, the Marlins broke out last night in a big way. 8 runs, 11 hits. It was a lot of fun. And, you wouldn't see it in some other sports. You wouldn't see in hockey some guy come out with a 9-foot hockey stick, and unless it was the Zdeno Chara, and skate around in the warm-ups. But in the nature of baseball, guys do different things, and if it works, you keep on keeping on.
You stick with it. Justin Ruggiano brings out Colin McRae's gift bat, a gigantic Marlins replica bat.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, the Marlins get 8 runs and 11 hits. So what do you think he does today, Craig?
Brought it out again today, and I asked him, are you going to bring it on the road trip? Fly it with your team, bring it to the hotel, or bring it to the clubhouse? Here's what he had to say.
If we score 8 runs tonight and we get a win, I'm bringing it on the road.
Okay.
I mean, C-Mac, I know it's his gift, but he doesn't have a choice, really. Sorry.
That's Colin McRae.
Yeah, Colin. Colin, yeah. We're taking your bat if we score 8 tonight. So.
All right, and there it is. Colin McRae's 40th birthday some 20, 25 years ago. He got that bat. He's been holding it and brought it out with the new logo on it. And here, no, he's not really that old, but there's Colin. And just a little simple thing, but
little simple
kept
thing.
It going.
Hey, hitting a baseball is so difficult that anything that you think might get you an edge, like bringing out a big bat or switching your hats or wearing another T-shirt or whatever, I guarantee you players will do it time and time again until it doesn't work anymore.
What would the other team? Is the other team bothered by anything like that? What are these guys doing? Or no?
No, I mean, they all think you're crazy, but I guarantee you they're doing the same thing. I guarantee it.
Okay. All right. Niners crazy. We'll get his thoughts on the post game coming up tonight. See if the Marlins can win a series as they even things up with big bats last night. They got Ricky Nolasco going against the lefty Ross Detweiler. We've got it all coming at you right here on Fox Sports Florida. Enjoy the game.
Brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. By AT&T, the new wireless receiver from AT&T U-verse. Visit AT&T.com/free your TV. Rethink possible. And by Just for Men Auto Stop Foolproof. Gray is over. Over Miami. And around the bends and into Marlins Park. The Washington Nationals, everyone's pick, it seems, to win the East, come in at 8-6 right now. They're still without Denard Span, who is ill tonight. Jason Worth leads it off. Steve Lombardozzi has had two-hit nights in the series. Bryce Harper was ill last night, and he's back in tonight. Ryan Zimmerman in the cleanup spot. Adam LaRoche is at first. Sarasota's Ian Desmond is blistering hot right now. He's got 5 hits and 3 doubles in the series. Roger Bernadita in center. Kurt Suzuki behind the plate. And Ross Detweiler will hit 9th against Ricky Nolasco.
Ricky Nolasco has had 3 starts. One against the Nationals on opening day at Nationals Park. And the only damage in that game was done by Bryce Harper. He pitched well against the Mets. He pitched well against the Phillies. But he comes into this game 0-1, trying to pick up his 77th win and just add to that total as the Marlins' winningest pitcher.
And so Nolasco takes aim at the Nationals. As Tommy pointed out, he's seen the Nationals an awful lot. They've seen him an awful lot. So there really aren't a lot of mysteries on either side because the Fish have seen enough of Detweiler, too, to know.
His numbers against the Nationals, 11-6 in his career in a 3.54 ERA last year. He pitched well against them. So you always watch early to see how that curveball's working and if he moves the fastball in and out.
Pinch a Penny brings you the first pitch. Of course, Nolasco through opening day in the 2-0 Nationals win in D.C. And Worth goes after the first pitch, end of the bat. Nolasco gathers it in and gets himself an out on just 1 pitch.
That's a nice out to get. Tough hitter, got him on 1 pitch. Let's check on the defense behind Ricky. The defense brought to you by Cleveland Clinic. Juan Pierre and Ruggiano and Kearns in the outfield. Austin Kearns back in the lineup. Chris Valaika getting the start at short. A last-minute addition to the lineup. A sore elbow for Echeverria. Solano is double play partner. And Miguel Olivo will handle Ricky Nolasco.
So a very different lineup out there for Miami than they had last night. Here's Lombardozzi. Now Lombardozzi, with Espinosa having been hit on the hand, got a start in game 1, had a couple hits, and Davey Johnson stuck him in there last night. He had a couple more. And he's back in there tonight, but it may not have anything to do with the couple hits. It might have to do with the fact that Espinosa, who is sitting tonight, is 0 for 17 in his career against Nolasco.
That's amazing. Lombardozzi's 3 for 10, and it might be the thing where Espinosa's okay, and Davey Johnson may have said, let's get you another day's rest.
Kearns, who was in the hospital just a day and a half ago, makes the catch, and all is good with Austin Kearns, a case of arrhythmia.
Yeah, you know, I had a nice talk with Austin around the batting cages. He'd never had any feeling like that before, and he said it happened really in the middle of the night before, and when he got to the ballpark, things really didn't change. And after a night in the hospital, all is well. He got the clearance to play, and he's in the lineup tonight.
Ricky Nolasco makes his living throwing curveballs. Bryce Harper hit 2 of those out, a long way out in Washington. So it'll be interesting to see how Nolasco attacks him tonight. Fastball on a first pitch, and it's fouled off. Harper, despite his slump, and Tommy documented the 1 for 14 slide, is still at a healthy 320.
It gives you an idea how he started. I think in the back of Ricky's mind, when he throws that breaking ball, he has to say to himself, bury it. Bury it down around the ankles. Because if he hangs another one, he could be in trouble.
There aren't that many Nationals that have gaudy numbers against Nolasco, but Harper is one. There's the breaking ball, and it was in the back door enough that he didn't really spin on it.
That's a pitch we've seen Jose Fernandez use very successfully. Where he likes to throw it.
Now look at where pitch 3 is, right on the black on the outside. 1-2 coming. Elevates a fastball. Now Miguel Olivo is behind the plate working with Nolasco. Olivo, of course, a Marlin from 06 through 07, so he's had plenty of time with Nolasco. That 06 season, of course, was Ricky's rookie campaign. 2-2. Breaking ball up the middle into center field. Base hit. That shows you how mature this 20-year-old is. The first backdoor breaking ball he took on the black. The second one he waited on and punched it up the middle.
Yeah, and I think if you talk to Harper, he'd say, you know, that first one just snuck in for a strike. The next breaking ball, albeit a good pitch, had a little bit more of the plate. And that snaps an 0 for 13.
Now Ryan Zimmerman, it was a scoreless ball game last night until the 4th, when Ryan Zimmerman committed his 4th throwing error of the season. And that opened the door. Miami walked through with 4 runs, 3 of them coming on the home run by Adeiny Hechavarria. Zim, who is crossing over milestones as he continues his major league career. He was in the big leagues at a very young age. He's 28 now. And one misses out. Zimmerman just passed the 1,000th career game mark in the Friday game against Atlanta. Also had his 600th career RBI earlier this year against the White Sox.
Boy, and he's had a boatload of at-bats against Ricky Nolasco, too.
Yes, he has.
You talk about a sample size.
Line to the left. Pierre's got it lined up, and he makes the catch, and Nolasco gets through the first. He keeps Harper in the yard, and it's scoreless. Scoreless ball game, the Nationals and the Marlins in the bottom of the first. Marlins lineup looks this way. Juan Pierre is in left field. Donovan Solano is at second. Placido Polanco is at third base. Justin Ruggiano in center. Greg Dobbs at first. Still no Giancarlo Stanton. And, of course, no Adeiny Hechavarria tonight. Austin Kearns in right. Miguel Olivo gives Rob Brantley the night off. And it's Chris Valaika who takes Echevarria's spot at short. And here's a look at Ross Detweiler, the 27-year-old out of Missouri State, and another high draft pick that the Nationals hit on. He was a first-round pick back in 2007, and he has been a nice piece in their rotation.
He really has. You think about Detweiler, he's considered their number 5 man. He might be a 2 or 3 on a lot of teams. You saw the numbers against the Marlins. He's pitched against the Marlins very well. A lot of fastballs.
Juan Pierre takes a letter-high fastball. Craig Gibson, the home plate umpire. At first base, Mike Estabrook, Alan Porter at second, Jerry Lane at third. And Pierre slices a liner that Lombardozzi snares. JP had 3 hits and hit it hard all night last night. And here are the Nationals defensively.
Hey, brought to you by Cleveland Clinic. Harper, Bernardina, and Worth in the outfield. Zimmerman and Desmond, Lombardozzi and LaRoche, and Kurt Suzuki catching all 3 games of this series.
Solano now an 0 for 6 in the series, and his average has dipped down to 217. You've got Polanco hitting third, and Detweiler goes right after him with a fastball.
One of the reasons Detweiler is so successful at throwing so many fastballs, He has that ability, and it's really something you can't teach, in his windup to uniquely hide the ball. So he kind of jumps at you and the ball sneaks in on you. Just like that, in on the hands.
Jam shot, and it's Lombardozzi again. You know, Detweiler actually got to the big leagues his rookie season in 2007, just for one relief appearance and one inning. Got back to the big leagues as a starter for 14 starts in 09, but he never really was able to establish himself in the rotation. And this guy, a 6th overall pick in 07. Finally, in 2012, last year was his breakthrough year. Remember, he beat out John Lannon for a spot in the Nationals rotation.
A guy who had a couple of times been their opening day starter. Here's the windup. He kind of turns sideways, tucks the ball, and jumps in on you with a fastball. And so far, he's thrown nothing but fastballs.
He's a big guy, too, 6'5", 205. Ball and a strike to Placido Polanco. Polanco, Miami's best hitter so far this year at .313 and a .353 on base percentage.
That last shot showed you the good sink he also gets with the fastball.
Liner, and Polanco punches it into right field. Worth over to pick it up, and Polanco, a 2-out single, and that gets Ruggiano to the plate. Well, the approach for the Marlins, the two right-handed hitters have ended up pushing the ball to the right side. Polanco with more success than Solano, and here's Ruggiano.
Well, if he continues with a lot of fastballs with the two-seam sink away, you're going to play into his hand if you try to pull him. So that's a good approach.
Ruggiano goes right after that fastball. Here's a scouting report on Detweiler.
Rethinking the scouting report, I could have just put fastball, fastball, fastball. But he commands it as that compact arm action, and he'll elevate the fastball with 2 strikes.
I actually spoke with Ruggiano specifically about Detweiler, and that's what he said most impressive about him. He does have secondary pitches, but you're going to see fastballs most of the time, and he's aggressive with it. He's not a nibbler.
So many times we see that classic left-hander, the soft tosser, turns the ball over, good changeup, nibbles at times, but you're right, not Detweiler.
Fastball, and he struck him out, and the scouting report was right on Tommy Hutton. He elevated with 2 strikes. We are scoreless. High definition, and so is the Bobblehead Museum. And it's brought to you by H.H. Gregg. In Miami tonight, the roof is open. And the Marlins and the Nationals are finishing off a 3-game series. It's very comfortable in here tonight. A little bit of a breeze coming off the ocean and through downtown and through the rolling windows, which are wide open as well. Adam LaRoche stands in. Ian Desmond, Roger Bernardina for the Nationals in the second. And a fastball is up. LaRoche and the Nationals, of course, if you follow baseball, you know they had a big showdown series with the Braves this past weekend. Braves swept them. Atlanta finally lost a game today, barely. A 1-0 loss to the Kansas City Royals in Atlanta.
How about that? The Braves finally losing.
Snapped a 10-game win streak for Atlanta.
You know, a guy who had a good series against the Braves was Jeff Francoeur.
It's fascinating to see him back at Turner Field, where he broke in as a rookie, had a terrific rookie campaign and a nice start to his early career. He and LaRoche were tight and were teammates.
Ned Yost, the manager of Kansas City, back in Atlanta.
That's another good one because Yost was part of that morning coffee bunch with Bobby Cox and Freddie Gonzalez.
Yeah.
(3-1) coming to LaRoche. And a ground ball through the shift with Valleca over behind second. LaRoche crosses him up, punches one into left.
Not too often do you see Adam LaRoche hit a ground ball that way. He'll hit line drives and balls in the air in that direction, but not too often will he drive a ground ball. He just found the perfect spot to get a base hit.
Now Ian Desmond, and boy, has he looked impressive in this series. He had just the breakout year last year. And he's off to a very nice start this year, .315 average. Desmond now with 7 doubles, and 3 of them have come in this series. 10 of his last 19 hits are extra base hits. And so Desmond, who leads the National League in doubles, up there with LaRoche at first. Oh, and 2.
So far, Ricky finding the corners tonight.
Ball in the dirt. LaRoche holds. Tommy, you see a lot of high school kids who are high draft picks never sniff the big leagues. Desmond was a high pick, 3rd round back in 2004. He's not a first-round guy, not a bonus guy, but a high school player out of Sarasota.
Where there's some good baseball.
Absolutely. And to get to the big leagues and improve every year at maybe the most difficult position to play, and that's shortstop, says an awful lot about Ian Desmond. And that's what his hitting coach, Rick Eckstein, said today. He said that what separates Desmond from other guys who have the ability to get to the big leagues is the fact that every year he has a voracious appetite to improve.
To learn, to improve, and it's a constant process as a guy's big league career unfolds.
Off of Polanco's glove, it caroms into left. Pierre will pick it up. LaRoche is going to take third. And the Nationals are set up now at the corners, and there's nobody out. And Desmond has yet another hit.
If you ever hear a big league player say, yeah, I think I finally got this figured out, then he's not going to be around very long. This ball stung. Even the reach by Polanco, he couldn't get there and off his glove. And because it was deflected, LaRoche was able to go first to third.
Now Nolasco has to face very speedy Roger Bernardina. Suzuki is on deck, and then Detweiler. So if Ricky can get Bernardina without the runners advancing, he's got a shot at getting out of this inning without a whole lot of damage. Bernardina pops it foul and out of play. Bernardina was a nice piece last year when he hit 291. His on base was 372. Stole 15 bases. A very good defender.
It's another area, Rich, where you have to be careful with Desmond over first. He stole 21 bases last year. He stole 25 the year before.
Desmond and LaRoche at the corners. 0-2. Kind of a shorter delivery from Nolasco. And it counts 1-2.
I think Ricky's improved in his delivery to the plate with a runner at first base.
LaRoche singled. Desmond singled. The Nationals have 3 hits. Desmond's running on the pitch, taken for a ball, and Desmond is in there. Mike Redmond is on his way out. Boy, a lot of things happening there. You could hear the home plate umpire, Greg Gibson, shout, and what he shouted was ball in. It was a strong throw by Olivo. Let's listen.
And he's out at second. Caught him on that foot that was up.
It's a great pick.
Watch the left foot. The left foot right there. He gets him before the back foot gets to the bag.
Alan Porter, the rookie umpire out there, and Redmond out to talk to him. As it is, the Nationals now set up at second and third. The count's 2-2.
Not to mention it was a close pitch, but I think a good call by the home plate umpire, Greg Gibson.
Here's another angle.
What's that left foot?
Oh, did he catch him on the pant
Well,
leg?
he got him on the knee or the pant leg. It's still very close. Still very close, either way.
Roller, Valaika at short, on to first to get the out. And the Nationals cash in on 1 run. Bernardina gets the RBI, and now Desmond resides at third. The next Corona Light watch party coming up on Friday night at the new Hurricane Grill in Pembroke Pines. Marlins and Reds at 7:10. You can win prizes, meet Billy and the Energy team, take advantage of great food and Corona specials at the new Hurricane Grill.
Not only did that ground ball get LaRoche in, it got Desmond over to third, too.
And it brings the infield in for Suzuki.
I think if you knew you had an offense, if Mike Redmond knew he had an offense that was going to score the way they scored last night, first inning, maybe you'd play back here. But with a club that, with the exception of last night, has had trouble scoring, he brings the infield in.
Two 2-0. The pitcher Ross Detweiler is on deck. You wonder if the call had gone Miami's way at second, if Redmond would have brought the infield in for the rest of the at-bat for Bernardino. I mean, he's got the bottom of the order coming
Probably
up.
not. Probably not at that time. But it's a question, and we'll have time on our flight to Cincinnati to ask Red.
Who's not real pleased, as you can see. 2-1. Good breaking ball. And Nolasco has really been on the black with the breaking ball so far tonight.
He's got good stuff tonight. Breaking ball's been there. His control's there. He's thrown some good two-seam fastballs that have moved.
Suzuki trying to drive in this run. Desmond's at third with the infield drawn in. And that's going to get the job done. Over for it is Ruggiano. He'll make the catch. Tagging is Desmond. And he's on his way to the plate, and he scores. So the call at second is a costly one in a lot of ways. And as Desmond crosses, Suzuki gets the sacrifice fly, and now the pitcher comes up. But all the damage has been done.
Yeah, the call at second changed the whole complexion of the inning. And Mike Redmond certainly knows that.
So here's Detweiler. And the Nationals lead it at 2-0. And of course, that was the score of the opening day start for Nolasco when he matched up against Steven Strasburg. And the Nationals winning that ball game in D.C. Both those runs coming on the Bryce Harper homers. Detweiler swings and misses. Olivo digs it out. And the inning is over, but the Nationals, on a couple of hits, a stolen base, get themselves 2 runs. Cincinnati, birthplace of baseball. Historic Cincinnati. Joey Votto and Aroldis Chapman and all the Reds. And if you don't think that that's a sexy pitching matchup in the first game, think again. Marlin fans know about Jose Fernandez. We know about Rosie, too. That's a big selling point. The kid goes tomorrow night. Tony Cingrani the lefty, is one of the Reds' top prospects. He's making his major league debut.
Yeah, as a starter. He pitched a few games last year, but he's filling in for Johnny Cueto. They called him up. He's got some unbelievable strikeout numbers, but how about the numbers of Jose Fernandez? So a good matchup and probably the best day. If you look at the forecast, tomorrow in Cincinnati, they're calling for 82 degrees in the 50s in the evening. But then it goes down Friday to 57 and 35. So tomorrow night will probably be the best night that we'll have weather-wise.
Well, the Marlins in a 2-0 hole right now. Ross Detweiler, in his 2 starts, has only given up 1 earned run this year. Austin Kearns and Miguel Olivo will follow Greg Dobbs. Liner just foul. Dobbs a nice night last night, driving at a couple runs on 2 hits and a bases loaded walk.
Yeah, I think we talked about it a couple of times last year when we saw Detweiler. From the windup, he kind of begins his windup by going into the stretch position. There he is looking at the hitter. Now he turns and then starts the windup. And I think that's a good look with that leg kick. See how he hides the ball. Hard to pick up the ball.
And another illustration, that's a perfect illustration of what hitters talk about. They say it's 60 feet from mound to home plate, and hitters will tell you that you're nuts. Because when a guy at that height, at 6'5", extends, he is a good 7 feet, 8 feet in front of that mound. So he's releasing the pitch at about 53 feet. Two and 2. Nationals are headed to New York. You can see where the landing spot of his foot is. Dobbs dumps it into center field, a base hit. Greg Dobbs with a leadoff hit here in the 2nd inning. And up comes Austin Kearns. The Little Daubers are happy. And the Little Daubers will tell you, if you ask them, that this copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority, the Miami Marlins, may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Miami Marlins.
You pointed out Rich Dobbs with a couple of hits last night. He's on a nice little roll. 5-game hitting streak now for Greg Dobbs.
With a lot of hits against lefties in that streak. Austin Kearns still looking for a hit. 0 for 11, gets the start in right field. Giancarlo Stanton continues to take batting practice. Mike Redmond before the ball game was hopeful that he will play tomorrow.
If I was Stanton, I'd want to get out there in some warm weather and get that shoulder loose as opposed to trying to test it in 55-degree temperatures, maybe colder in Cincinnati.
Kearns smacks it into center field. Dobbs will stop at second, and Miami has a couple hits to open up the bottom of the 2nd.
Well, Austin Kearns gets on the board for 2013. You know, Detweiler got what he wanted. He got the ground ball, but that pitch was up. And Kearns was able to drive it up the middle to set the stage with nobody out.
When you look at a scouting report for Ross Detweiler, you see what his patterns are and what he likes to throw. The first thing that popped into my mind was first pitch fastball, Miguel Olivo. Something Olivo is known for. Let's see if he gets one.
Well, to this point, I don't think he's thrown anything other than a fastball.
And he got one right down the middle. Olivo 2 for 13.
Lifetime against lefties, though, Miguel Olivo, 270.
Had a rip, 0-2. Detweiler, a 94-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah, he's thrown 24 pitches, a lot of strikes, 18 strikes, and they've all been fastballs.
Breaking ball.
Finally got the breaking ball.
And he strikes out Olivo. That's a big strikeout because the Marlins are near the bottom of their order. And they've got an opportunity here, trailing 2-0.
Even in his case, it doesn't have to be a tremendous breaking ball. Just a wrinkle to it will give a hitter a different look after all the fastballs.
Now Valaika a late arrival into the lineup with the injury to Echeverria. Echeverria a sore right elbow, and it has come from throwing. And so rather than push him, Miami gives him a night off.
You know, Chris Valaika now has started 4 times, each time at a different position in the infield.
Valaika 3 for 4 against lefties, and he fouls it back to the screen. I think one of the keys for Valaika is that when he arrived in spring training, Tommy, he embraced that role. The University of California Santa Barbara product, followed Perry Hill everywhere on those back diamonds to whatever position Perry wanted to put him, and he put him at all 4 in spring training. Breaking ball, Valaika off the end of the bat. Bernardino runs everything down, and he runs that one down. So the 2 singles that have opened the inning have not budged. AT&T Uverse poll question. Get your hashtags ready. In April, do you prefer the Marlins Park roof open or closed? Hashtag roof yes, hashtag roof no. You see some of the dark clouds above. That's one of the reasons the Marlins have the roof just a little bit closed. Nolasco.
Yeah, I was told with the roof fully open, it's going to take 15 minutes to close it. But if you have some clouds in the area, they keep it just the way it is, because now if some rain starts to fall, they can get it closed in about 9 minutes. And either way, it still looks beautiful.
Dobbs and Kearns opened the inning with hits. Olivo struck out. Valaika flew out. And Nolasco can't catch up to 94. It's 1-2. The difference in the game, the Nationals' 2 singles added up to 2 runs. For the Marlins, they didn't. The Nationals in the third. Let's check in with Craig Minervini.
Rich, thank you. The Marlins have added some much-needed pop in the form of Big Joe Mahoney, who had a very good spring training for a while from a power standpoint. Knocked in 8 runs. He had 3 homers, but an intercostal strain kept him out. Went down to single A. Went 7 for 16. He's in the big leagues for the second time. I asked him about it before the game.
Yeah, trying to gauge it a little bit, you know, first day out here, but it felt good. It's good to be here.
What about coming here, Joe, and just you had a good spring training, got hurt, which set you back a little bit, and then a pretty quick call-up after your stint in Jupiter?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I was feeling good down there, and, you know, they have a need, and that's what I'm here for, you know, to help these guys win, and, you know, any way I can.
Exciting?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you know, I mean, this is what we all work for.
And then he had a run off to Stretch, and he made that on time. He only played 2 games last year, went 0 for 4 with Baltimore. He did hit 10 homers in Norfolk, hitting 265, 291 down the stretch the last 80 games. Today, he took some early batting practice, and he was peppering the upper right field seats. In fact, he took out a panel in the Johnson control sign, which is the 3rd sign over from the foul pole, as you see in right center field. Took out a pretty good chunk with some shots. Now, Mike Redmond said, look, Greg Dobbs done a very good job at first base, so he's not sure how he's going to work him in yet. Does have some DH options to move guys around next week in Minnesota, and certainly Mahoney's going to get a shot. Dobbs could be a threat off the bench, vice versa. It's good to have a power bat and a guy who can give you some hits there off the bench from the left side.
All right, Craig, and he's thrilled to be here. We had a chance to chat with him today.
Yeah, he is. He's really excited, and I think we could see that fall into play in Minneapolis with the DH in play for those games against the Twins.
Nolasco against the top of the order, Jason Worth. Polanco, long throw. Dobbs keeps the toe on in time to get Worth.
Boy, Jason Worth now is 4 for 33 against Ricky. About $120 batting average.
You know, that's the amazing thing. There are guys, good hitters, who have long resumes against Nolasco, but not a whole lot of success. As you pointed out, Ricky has always pitched well against the Nationals, especially on the road. He's 11-6 with an ERA in the mid-3s. And he misses outside to Lombardozzi with Bryce Harper coming up here in the third in a 2-0 game.
Look at a guy like Lombardozzi, and you think he would be a perfect fit. Not that he's not a perfect fit for the Nationals, he is. He had a really solid rookie year last year. He's one of those guys who'd be a perfect fit in St. Louis. Play all the infield positions. He's a switch hitter.
That long night in Cincinnati last night, in which the Reds and the Phillies were suspended, ended in about 10 minutes today. In the bottom of the 9th inning, Jay Bruce with an RBI single, and the Phillies lost 1-0 to the Reds. It's going to be a long run for Kearns, and he's going to get there and make the catch. We watched a little bit of that game from the booth yesterday. It was miserable, cold rain in Cincinnati, and they suspended the game in the 9th.
Yeah, it was no score at the time of suspension, and each team had a couple hits. That's it.
As Tommy pointed out, tomorrow night supposed to warm up, and the rough stuff hits on Friday night. Here's Harper. He singled in the first. Nolasco kept the breaking ball away from Harper. As you know, he hit 2 of them out on opening day, and Harper banked one of those into center field for a single. Target Field, where the Marlins are headed, is a nasty place right now. Looks like freezing rain. The Angels and the Twins have been postponed there tonight.
Here's the difference in those 2 pitches in the first inning. That's the one he took, just on the outer part. Now the one he hit for the base hit, look how it got a little bit more of the plate. Plus he'd seen it twice. Plus he's picking up Ricky really good right now.
And he rolls one into left field for a base hit. You know, most 20-year-olds who have homered on breaking balls against a pitcher would come into the next game swinging out of their shoes trying to pull it into the seats in right field. That's where he hit both home runs. But Harper's approach tonight shows you how mature he is. Back up the box with the breaking ball that you just showed. And then on that pitch, he sprays it into left field.
Yeah,
for
he might be 20 years old in the media guide, but he's a mature hitter.
And he's a threat to run at first base with 2 outs.
He's also already had 8 multi-hit games this year.
Throw to first. Every now and then a headline catches your eye around baseball. We often joke and laugh about players in their rehab throwing off flat ground or swinging off flat ground. Mark Teixeira took his first swings today in rehab, and he did it in a swimming pool as part of his rehab.
They'll slow the bat down a little bit.
That's a
build up some strength, though.
It is. I mean, most, in fact, I think just about every major league team has, and the Marlins have, I believe, a pair of them here, those SwimX machines where it can really help your rehab by running underwater, running against current.
We tried to get one of those up in the broadcast booth.
That or the massage table, and neither were approved. 2-0.
By the way, I heard a report today, too, talking about injuries. It's looking better for Christian Yelich, who is starting to play an extended spring. Then he'll play some games in Jupiter before he goes to Double-A. But not so good for Jake Marisnick. He is not ready. He thought he was ready, and he's not, and he's going to stay on the DL.
Count 2-1 to Zimmerman. And a strike. Zimmerman's another guy with a lot of at-bats against Nolasco, 48 of them. And has just 12 hits, an average of right around 250.
Average kind of mediocre, but 3 home runs.
Harper still at first. Now he's running. A swing and a miss. And Nolasco strikes out Ryan Zimmerman. Ricky leaves that runner. The Fish and the Nationals 2-0 Washington.
disponible por SAP.
On a gorgeous evening here with the roof open in Miami, Ross Detweiler and the Nationals have a 2-0 lead. And Detweiler will face for the second time through Juan Pierre, Donovan Solano, and Placido Polanco. Rich Schwartz, along with Tommy Hutton. Craig Minervini, Jeff Conine will be by with Marlins Live after the ball game. Pierre lined out to second his first time up.
And I think, Rich, Reed Cornelius, Marlins bullpen coach, will be with us in the 4th inning. Have a little chat with Reed.
We'll have to find out what it's like being so far from the Cleveland.
Well, we'll be able to hear him this year.
That's right. 1-1, roller out to short. Desmond gathers it in and fires a dart on over to first.
Want to take a minute and send our well wishes to longtime Marlins scorekeeper, who for the most part keeps score at all the home games, Ron Jernick. Ron's recovering from surgery over at the Moffitt Cancer Center in Tampa. So Ron, if you're watching, get back healthy. And I heard he gave the surgeon a base hit, not an error.
I wonder if in his bed right now he's keeping score.
Could be.
Solano fouls it back. He popped out back in the first. Detweiler, through the first 10 hitters, 3 strikeouts, 3 hits, all singles.
It's the second breaking ball he's thrown.
Cholula spotlight, Barranquilla, Colombia. Cardinals signed him. 7 minor league teams coming up the ladder in the Cardinals organization. Of course, his brother just called up again by the Nationals. They are just the 12th and 13th players ever from Colombia to play in the big leagues. Edgar Renteria from Barranquilla, didn't he? Yep. 1-2. And down goes Solano. This is what makes, to me, the Nationals rotation so tough, is that you see the headliners with Strasburg and Gonzalez, and then you got Jordan Zimmermann. But Detweiler is one of the ERA leaders in the National League right now. He's at the back of the rotation.
We've seen all that they have to offer. Marlins didn't see everybody in that Braves rotation. But I think we would lean, you and I would lean toward this rotation as better than Atlanta's. Even though Atlanta's has gotten off to a tremendous start.
And I think one of the tipping points right now is bullpen, because before the season, the Nationals bullpen looks stacked, and it's had its problems, and the Braves bullpen's been outstanding, even with an injury to Johnny Venters. Here's the 1-1. Popped foul and out of play. It was interesting to hear Davey Johnson talk about the Braves and say that they're a much more difficult matchup this year because of their right-handed bats. In years past, he said, they were predominantly left-handed. Freeman, McCann.
So the Uptons have filled a nice void.
And he pointed out Chris Johnson is a sleeper, too. That's going to sneak down the line. Harper over to get it. Remember, he's got a great arm. Polanco is going to get there with a double.
Well, Polanco just continues to hit. When he had his base hit in the first inning, it gave him hits in 7 of the 8 games on this homestand. So he's got the average over 330. And he sneaks that one by Zimmerman. You don't play Polanco to pull, but he got a pitch that he could pull. And snuck it past Ryan Zimmerman.
Here's Ruggiano. Detweiler was first pitch fastball on everybody first time through. misses up. First pitch fastball to Ruggiano.
Polanco up to 340 now with a 2-for-2 start tonight.
That's the thing. The blueprint of this team was to have Giancarlo Stanton and Logan Morrison in that 3-4 spot. And right now Stanton is still hurt. Morrison, of course, rehabbing the knee and is eligible to come off the disabled list end of May. Ruggiano, slow tapper. Desmond on the run. Boy, he is good out there. He has made such giant strides at short. Reed Cornelius ready to join us. Rich Waltz, Tommy Hutton, third man in the booth. Well, he's not in the booth. He's in the bullpen. Reed Cornelius. Hi, Reed.
Hey, guys.
Yeah, Reed's been with us before. He feels like part of the booth.
It's a little quieter this year. What's the change been like from left field next to the Clevelander out to right field?
Just here a little bit better. You know, we got a little better view of the dugout. And other than that, we're doing okay.
Have you ever had a moment where you've started to head in the other direction?
Not yet. Not yet. We go out there during BP and get our early throwing in. It's still a little weird not going into that bullpen, but it's been good out here.
Now, Rita, communication's always key in any sport, especially in baseball, especially from a manager to the pitching coach to the bullpen coach. Electronic communications that Major League Baseball taking a step forward. You guys still use the old-fashioned phones, or have you yet to go to the iPad or the iPhone?
Yeah, we're still using that landline. So far, it's worked pretty good. And you know, in spring training, we use those walkie-talkies. It's a little bit tougher to hear over those. So I like that phone.
Reed, where was it? Was it in New York? We had a little communication problem in the bullpen.
Yeah, they had the phone turned upside down. There's two phones down there. So the one in the box where we sit, watching the game, was hung up the right way, and then I went down to the mounds where they actually call while somebody's throwing, and that phone was turned upside down, so it looked like, or I guess the phone was registering that it was off the hook. So we were not getting a dial tone or anything else.
Reed, you're a pitcher by trade and a pitching coach as well. You're sort of the vice president of pitching for the Marlins, with Chuck Hernandez being the pitching coach. Your thoughts on the pitching so far this year? The starters have been outstanding, and your bullpen over the last week has gotten a lot better. Yeah,
the guys are throwing the ball well, and you know, hopefully we can continue to do that and keep us in ball games, and hopefully we can score enough runs to win.
Yeah, you talked to Rich about Reed, major leagues with the Expos, the Mets, of course with the Marlins, a couple of years. We talked, tell me if we're right or wrong in this, early in the season And I think we're at the point now where this may have been settled down. But early in the season with some new faces in the bullpen, does it take a while to kind of find everybody's niche?
Yeah, I mean, we're just still sorting things out and seeing how things are seeing how guys are throwing, see where their roles are going to fit. And right now we're just calling upon guys, and they're going out there and getting outs. And as long as you're getting outs, you're going to get the ball. There's always enough innings for everybody down here in the pen.
And we talked to Chuck about starting pitchers. We'll talk to you about relievers. And one guy that got off to a slow start but has sharpened up lately is Steve Cishek. What did you see early on the road trip, and what have you seen on this homestand?
Yeah, I think he's just getting back into a groove. You know, we're in spring training, nice warm weather, and then all of a sudden you go up north, it's a little cold, the balls are a little slick maybe or something like that, no humidity, and just finding that groove, getting a little bit more adrenaline going in those games, and he'll settle in just fine.
Now, it could be a little chilly in Cincinnati after that first game. You're going to be way out there. The bullpens in Cincinnati are, you guys are in right field, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, the home bullpen's in center.
Yeah.
So make sure you have the extra jacket out there.
Yeah, hopefully they got a blast furnace going out there or something.
And you can't see out very well from what I remember in the...
Yeah, they cut a couple holes in the tarp out there in the fence, so you got to peek through there every now and then. It's a little bit tougher to see, but we do best we can.
Have you been to Minnesota's new ballpark at all?
Never been there, no. I just imagine it's pretty cold. That's all I
check with John Rouse.
Yeah, he said that a couple guys have played there, and they said it's a nice ballpark, and we're looking forward to seeing it.
Here's Ian Desmond now. Ricky retired LaRoche for the first out here in the fourth. Reed Cornelius, the bullpen coach, joins us from the Marlins pen. Dobbs comes in, foul territory, and he makes the catch.
Reed, another guy that has impressed us with his demeanor on the mound and the way he approaches hitters is A.J. Ramos.
Yeah, A.J. has done a very good job for us. He takes the ball, and he showed us what he could do last year when we brought him up in September. He was a guy that goes right after hitters and has really good stuff, and he has a variety of pitches with the slider, curve, and change to go along with a good fastball. So he has enough weapons to face righties and lefties, and he's done a good job for us.
And it looks like he's on the A-team, so to speak. You've thrown him into the fire this year in games that are tight or games that Miami's had a chance to win, and he's responded.
Yeah, he's done well. You know, he earned that or set the foundation for using him later in the games during spring training when he came in and just threw the ball very well and attacked hitters. And as long as you're pounding that strike zone and getting ahead of hitters and putting them away, you're going to get the ball.
Most relief pitchers can get ready quickly. Is there anybody that gets ready the fastest out there?
No, these guys just fired up. I tell you, it's amazing to me being a starter for most of my career. It still took a few pitches for me to get the thing warmed up in there, but it seems like these guys just get up on the mound, start crow hopping and firing, and they're ready. The one guy that's mostly been a starter is John Maine, and it takes him maybe a little bit longer, but you know he's done very well also.
Nolasco with a count 2-1, 2 outs in the fourth. Bernardino outside corner. It's 2-2. Ricky's looked sharp this year, right from the start.
Yeah, he's had it going. He can really spin the ball. He uses his fastball in and out, and mixes in all that breaking stuff. And he has a variety of pitches, and he's done very well for us.
See, just like that, Reed Cornelius comes out of the pen and works a 1-2-3-4. Nice work.
I like it. All
right, thanks, Reed.
Take care. Yes, thank you.
Ricky Nolasco has struck out 4 of the last 8 he's faced. Brought to you by Honda. Visit your Honda dealer for great lease and finance deals on fuel-efficient Hondas. And by Checkers. Feast on. Speaking of feasting, now there you go. Out of the Clevelander, a pina colada, and it looks like a Cuban sandwich.
The gentleman knows where to go.
That's where the magic happens, Tommy.
Yep. We'll be out there for the fantasy auction.
That's where the magic happens. The Marlins need some magic at the plate right now. Ross Detweiler has been stifling. Miami has hits in every inning, but Detweiler, when he's needed it, has reached back, dialed up 95 on the fastball. He gets Dobbs, Kearns, and Olivo. Dobbs and Kearns had hits to open the second. LaRoche takes care of Dobbs here in the fourth. Make sure you have the best seats for all the action at Marlins Park. Enjoy new pricing on many seating areas in the ballpark. And purchasing a season ticket plan has never been easier. Plus, find out about the new season ticket rewards plus program. 1-877-MARLINS or go to marlins.com.
A lot of folks tonight, Rich, in the lower bowl, and I think some folks have found their way out to the home run porch in right field.
The Marlins would like to find themselves out in the home run porch a little more often.
Yeah, they would.
Finally got their first home run at home. Danny Echeverria with a 3-run shot last night. In the news tonight, Echeverria a late scratch. Mike Redmond joked that this sounds like a hockey night where they scratch some of the reserves. Every night he seems to have a late scratch or a late subtraction from the lineup. And Echeverria with a sore right elbow, and that's come from throwing, getting the night off. Echeverria is available to pinch hit. Kearns lines it. Nice play. And a nice guy.
Austin Kearns with a base hit, his first time up. Like Greg Gibson back there, umpire, let you know.
There's no doubt. Any ball, we'll give you a location. Kearns watches that one low and away. There's Gibson.
Watch how the home plate umpire, he gets down there in a good position to make calls. Right on the back of the catcher.
Lombardozzi out, and he makes the catch in front of Bernardino. 2 outs in the fourth. Detweiler continues to dazzle. Here comes Olivo. Arizona is in New York to take on the Yankees. Has a 3-0 lead against the Yankees.
Yeah, Paul Goldschmidt hit a home run early in the game against CC Sabathia.
Cardinals and Pirates back at it. Bottom of the fifth in Pittsburgh. 1-0 Pittsburgh.
Yeah, that game in Minnesota has already been postponed between the Angels and the Twins.
Yeah, we told you the Mets are going to try a doubleheader tomorrow.
Texas at Chicago has been postponed.
Now, normally I would say,
I
would say the White Sox.
Yeah, that's right. And I had to look at the logo to see that it was the Cubs.
Yeah. Because as you pointed out, there's actually 3 interleague series going on right now.
Yeah, the White Sox are up in Toronto.
The Boston-Cleveland series has some intrigue with Terry Francona managing the Indians, and Boston's back on top tonight. 3-0 in the top of the fourth. The Red Sox, a 9-4 start. All's quiet on the Western Front, so to speak, with the Padres and the Dodgers series. No repercussions. Of course, Carlos Quentin is not playing. He's suspended.
But the Padres have taken it to the Dodgers. First 2 games of that series.
Padres are just 4-10 on the season, so that's half their win total. And they play tonight. Giants are in Milwaukee. The Brewers are off to a slow start. They're at 4-8. They're having trouble scoring runs, and that's tough to fathom. The Brewers always seem to be near the top of every offensive category. Oakland beat Houston, and Bob Melvin's Oakland Athletics are 12-4. Bartolo Colon off the suspended list and into the win column. As Joe Angel would say, 2-0 is Colon. Olivo getting his money's worth with a big hack on a fastball.
It's always fun to look at some of the early leaders first couple of weeks of the season. John Segura, shortstop. The Brewers leading the league in hitting.
Desmond around it, loads up and throws him out. Detweiler goes 1-2-3 through the fish in the 4th. Fifth inning. Just for men. Auto Stop Foolproof Stats. Base stealers. Steals of third base in 74. You knew that Ricky Henderson would be up there with 322. Look at the high percentages, though. And look at Juan Pierre. 89.3%. That's better than Vince Coleman, better than Ricky Henderson, even better than Otis Nixon. My man.
Juan Pierre's done a whole lot, and I'm always amazed. And we had some tweets last night about suggesting, and yes, it's early, certainly too early to think about All-Stars, but who do we think would be representing the Marlins in the All-Star game this year? And you know what? I would love to see Juan Pierre, because of all the things he's accomplished, all the 200-hit seasons, over 2,000 hits, he has never been an All-Star.
He's going to need to get hot and get his numbers up there, but certainly if he could do that, that would be sweet. If you had to pick one right now, well, the two guys I would look at, Placido Polanco and Jose Fernandez. Wouldn't that be a nice story?
Of course, the All-Star game this year at Citi Field in New York.
Nolasco has pitched well this year, but he doesn't have much to show for it. He hasn't had a whole lot of support. Ricky making his 4th start. And his 1-1 to Suzuki.
You know, it's funny, while we were talking, to Reed Cornelius last inning down in the Marlins bullpen. Ricky really changed his game plan last inning. Had a nice 1-2-3 inning with a couple of strikeouts and threw a lot of off-speed stuff. The split, the curveball, mixed in a couple of fastballs. So he changed things around a little bit in the fourth inning.
You see him sitting at 73 pitches. In that Dodger-Padre game tonight, Chase Headley is returning. He's missed a month of time, obviously not a month of the regular season, but the last 2 weeks of spring and into the 2 weeks here with a fractured left thumb. Look at that. Preston Wilson in studio. Preston is even more dapper in the studio than he is at the ballpark. He's in a controlled environment there.
He's helped us pick our game up, though.
Yeah, Tommy was sporting a pocket square last night, and I think that was solely inspired by Preston Wilson.
You got to remind me to bring that on the road trip. Totally sawed off. That is shattered.
7 pitch at bat already for Suzuki. Fly ball left field. That's well hit. Pierre is back at the track, and it's gone. Kurt Suzuki leads off the 5th with his 2nd home run of the season, and the Nationals lead is now 3-0.
How about that? A long at bat. He saw a ton of pitches. He shattered his bat, went back and got a new one. I guess the one they handed him was a home run bat. They said, "Here, Kurt, here's a home run bat." And he got a home run pitch. Fastball came back middle of the plate. That's a pitch that Ricky wants to start off the plate and have come back. Just catch that outside corner. Came back and caught too much of the plate. You know, before Wilson Ramos injured his hamstring, Davey Johnson was kind of every other game going with Ramos and Suzuki. But with Ramos out, Jonathan Solano is the backup catcher, but he's going to give Suzuki more playing time.
Detweiler goes down. Worth will take his time and allow the Nationals starting pitcher a chance to regroup. Worth has bounced out twice. That's an impressive beard, but the beard that he's sporting up on the scoreboard is Brian Wilson-like. It was his spring beard. Our producer, John Sulzer, says that's Game of Thrones-like. Oh, 2 pitch.
I have not seen, I've missed it on some of the highlights. I've not seen Josh Reddick's beard out in Oakland.
Oh, it's good.
Is it Worth like?
It's better than, I mean, it's bigger than Worth. It's ZZ Top like. The Oakland is it's just a terrific team to watch, a fun team to watch. They remember they had the Coco Crisp dance move in celebration of the big home run or a big play last year. This year they've got the youth soccer tunnel in the dugout. Worth to left, it'll stay in the ballpark. If you've ever coached or had a child play youth soccer, you know, at the end of a soccer match, the parents and family and friends and coaches all line up and put their hands up and form a tunnel, and the players run under it. Well, that's what the A's are doing now for home runs, is they form the home run soccer type tunnel in the dugout, and players run through it.
And what you're telling me about Reddick's beard is that he would fit in tailgating at a Raiders game.
Yes. Yeah, the black hole. All he would need were the spikes on his leather vest. Lombardozzi. Melvin has done an incredible job of melding that group to get them to the postseason. You know, who knows if Crisp catches that ball in the playoff series against the Tigers, if Oakland doesn't win that series. They were up in that ball game, lost the lead. Smacked on a couple hops. Solano whips it on to first in time. Kurt Suzuki all the way from Wailuku, Hawaii. Second home run of the season. 3-0 bottom of the fifth. Let's check in with Craig Minervini.
Thank you, Rich. The Marlins offense so far this year, well, has been inconsistent, but they have bunched runs together a few times, and when they have, they've won. The numbers are almost really amazing when you look at them. Only won 3 games, but they have scored 17 of their 31 runs in the 3 wins. In the other 11 losses, 14 runs total. You see the extra base hits, a couple of homers in the 3 wins. Look at the average difference, 260 to 195. And talking with Justin Ruggiano today, he said, no question, we're tense. Some younger guys here, older guys mixed in. We weren't relaxed, but we got comfortable in the game yesterday. And you look at it, they scored almost all their runs, 7 and 8 of their 11 hits in the 2 innings. It was contagious. They had some good at-bats, and hopefully they can keep that going. Guys, in 6 of the losses this year, They've only given up 3 runs or less. So you're not talking about needing an overwhelming offense with the pitching they're getting. Just enough to keep you in the game and maybe get a chance to win it late. Rich?
And that's been a struggle, Craig and Tommy. It's piecing together hits. The Marlins don't have power right now. That's a given. No Stanton. They've added Mahoney, and they hope that maybe he can give them some pop. But when you can't hit the ball out of the ballpark in this day and age, you have to string together hits. You have to steal bases. And that's not been easy to do for Miami.
You have to play clean ball. You can't make any mistakes. And then you come up against a guy like Ross Detweiler. Detweiler coming into this inning now, 17 innings on the year. He's given up 1 earned run, an ERA of 0.53.
Driven in the gap, left center field, Valaika. This is going to be his 3rd double of the season in just his 14th at bat. So Valaika, a late addition to the lineup with the injury to Echeverria, is aboard.
Well, he has more doubles and he has more RBIs than Donovan Solano, who's had a lot more playing time. And if he continues to play solid ball the way he has, he's going to keep himself in the lineup somewhere.
Now here's the challenge for Miami. You've got Nolasco up, and the man behind him, Juan Pierre, is not an RBI guy. And so Ricky's going to try to bunt him to third. And then that'll put Pierre on the spot to try to drive him in. But first things first. First it's Nolasco with LaRoche really crashing at first base.
Yeah, watch LaRoche come down that line at first. He's going to be able to tell you what Ricky had for dinner. He's getting so close.
The good news for Ricky is that Valaika is a very good athlete. He's an infielder, and he moves well. He's at second base.
The whole object for the defense in that situation, with LaRoche coming down, he basically is going to cover all of this area. Detweiler, a lefty, he can go over and cover that area. So at third base, Zimmerman can kind of hold his ground.
And LaRoche is one of the best in the game. He won the Gold Glove last year. And Nolasco fouls it and strikes out. So you talk about playing a clean game, and there's an opportunity missed. Miami had an opportunity in the second when Dobbs and Kearns led off the inning with singles. After that, Olivo struck out, Valaika flied out, and Nolasco struck out.
Yeah, it's just the type of thing we've seen too much of. Sacrifice bunts not getting laid down. And tonight, after the crazy night last night, where the Marlins were 6 for 9 with runners in scoring position, tonight they're 0 for 5.
Pierre with a roller in the hole at short, loading up his Desmond. Oh, he just got him. A bang-bang play. Desmond has sparkled at shortstop in this series, and he gets Pierre.
I guarantee, too, when Desmond went over to get this ball, he knew he was going to have to unload in a hurry with something on it. Good base running by Valaika, by the way, to see where that ball was and then get back to second and not get thrown out at third. But there's the cannon just in time. Got him by a half a step.
Tommy, Craig's point is a good one in that as well as the Marlins have pitched, especially their starting rotation, they don't need to be 6 of 9 with runners in scoring position.
Just mix in a couple. Mix in a couple of good bunts that move runners over.
Yeah.
Mix in a sacrifice fly or two. Give yourself a Greg Dobbs at bat when you have a runner at third base. Yeah, less than 2 out.
You just need 2 or 3 of those hits a night. but a leadoff double, and he hasn't budged.
Marlins had runners at first and second and nobody out in the second inning.
Solano fouls it at the plate. Count as a ball and a strike. There's Mahoney, the former Baltimore Oriole. Intercostal injury. Tommy has a condo on the intercostal.
Intercostal, yeah, it's a very popular injury here in South Florida.
Liner into right field, and it's going to get in for a hit. Here comes Valaika. Werth's throw. He is safe. Safe. Greg Gibson started to call him out, and he and Suzuki go nose to nose right now with Davey Johnson on the way out.
Yeah, that's amazing. You don't see an umpire change too often, but Gibson was right there, started to make the out call, and what a great slide by Chris Valaika, who you had just mentioned, talked about his athletic ability. Davey Johnson not pleased with the call, but a big base hit by Donovan Solano with 2 out to bring home Valaika. A great slide.
And a heck of a throw by Werth.
And he came past the plate and then reached back to touch the plate. And I don't think Suzuki ever touched him. If he did, he might have nicked his helmet.
Well, if he got the helmet, he got him, but it's bang, bang.
Yeah, if he got him on the helmet, he's out. Either way, tremendous slide. And look at the runner on deck, Placido Polanco, helping Valaika and showing him where to slide.
Solano at first, and Detweiler goes over. Yet another view. Terrific work in the truck, by the way. Well, it's hard to tell if he got him in the helmet or not. And look at Gibson. He had the right arm cocked, and Gibson had the best look at it, Tommy. He was in perfect position to see if the glove hit the helmet.
And Valaika could tell us, because, you know, he would feel it. But look at how he reaches around after he goes by the plate, tucks his shoulder in, and then reaches back and touches home plate.
Polanco rolls one out to second. Lombardozzi recovers to get the out. Miami's finally on the board, though. Donovan Solano, a big 2-out RBI single. Nationals still up here in Miami, 3-1. Hit by Donovan Solano. A reminder that Jason Werth is still a really good right fielder. And a bang-bang play at the plate.
He's got a great arm out there. And also for Donovan Solano, that broken 0 for 10 that he was mired in, but he's also now 4 for 8 against Detweiler. He's had some success against the Nationals lefty.
Bryce Harper, Ryan Zimmerman, Adam LaRoche. Harper, who was ill yesterday, climbs in. He has singled the center and singled the left. Ricky says, try to hit the splitter.
He'll try everything now. This is bad.
Fastball up and in.
Interesting game going on in Pittsburgh. Pirates have a 2-0 lead against the Cardinals, and through 6, A.J. Burnett has not given up a base hit. Good split change there.
Has he walked 8 like he did in San Diego?
He hasn't walked that many, no.
He hasn't walked anyone. He's struck out 8 and hasn't walked a guy. Two and 2 to the Nationals left fielder. We're in 2. Ryan Zimmerman waits. Velasco into his 6th inning of work. His pitch count is up there, 93. Harper has one of the more violent swings in the game. There are guys that have that smooth stroke. A good contrast would be Adam LaRoche from that side for the Nationals.
Adam LaRoche has that typical smooth left-handed swing that loves the low fastball down and in. Yeah, Harper's is more in an attacking mode.
Man, he attacks that one and drills it by Kearns off the wall. Harper on his way to second. And Ricky Nolasco has flat run out of pitches to throw to Bryce Harper.
He's tried everything.
You can tell that Harper does not feel well tonight either. He's a couple of times has stepped out of the box. He's as white as a sheet out there at second base.
Yeah, the Nationals clubhouse was not a good place to visit the last couple of days.
Well, the Nationals have been very good about getting guys over and getting them in this ball game.
Even a guy like Zimmerman, who's a power guy, doesn't have to. If you're Davey Johnson, you know this with a 3-1 lead. But if he gets a pitch out over the plate, he'll try to get Harper over to third. He'll try to hit a ball to the right side. But he's also capable of driving him in, too.
He gets that pitch and drives it to the right side. Harper now at third.
See, that right there sets a great example for an entire team. You've got your big man up there, your RBI guy, and what does he do? Gives himself up on a pitch out over the plate to move the runner to third base. There it is. He stays back. Doesn't try to smash a ball, get a big base hit. Just moves the runner. That sends a good message.
Now LaRoche will try to pick up that run for Washington. He has singled and struck out against Nolasco.
Tough to put the big shift on, too.
Infield's in.
With the infield in. Ricky goes with a good two-seamer, tries to get that ground ball.
The Wave making a round here at Marlins Park. Do you remember, Tommy Hutton, when the wave started?
I think it was sometime in the 80s, late 80s.
There's two distinct stories as to who started the wave.
Didn't it start on the West Coast?
And both those stories are on the West Coast. One is that University of Washington, and Rob Zeller, who was a TV host, claimed to start it. Liner into left field. That's a base hit for LaRoche. The other was a guy named Crazy George, who was a maniacal cheerleader type guy that frequented games in the San Francisco Bay Area. And just what they've done all night long, Washington gets them over and gets them in, and that's the difference in the ball game. Miami has had opportunities. The Marlins have 6 hits. The Nationals have 7. But the Nationals got just 2 hits in the second and produced 2 runs. Desmond had one of those hits. Here they have a leadoff double, and LaRoche drives it in after Zimmerman gave himself up.
And LaRoche, who started the season 0 for 15, is now 8 for his last 25. And you can tell just by the way he's swinging the bat tonight that he's starting to get locked in. A couple of base hits to left field.
Desmond takes A.J. Burnett now pitching in the 7th with 1 out, and still has not given up a hit. Kearns in foul territory. Desmond retired. You can experience Marlins baseball in luxury and give your group the true VIP treatment. Legends and Fiesta Suites offer the suite experience on a single game basis and feature all-inclusive food and beverage menus, premium seats, big screen TVs, personal service, and a perfect view of the game. Boy, Harper still does not look well.
Well, he's gasping for air.
Bernardina, runner bluffs. But LaRoche stays put.
Yeah, LaRoche isn't going to steal a bag unless he thinks he just gets a huge jump and you don't pay any attention to him.
Splitter missed. 2-0. Bernardina drove in a run on a ground ball to short back in the 2nd, and he struck out in the 4th.
Ricky's fastball is still live. Ryan Webb getting ready.
Bernardina waits. 2-1 pitch. Two and 2. $107.
See if Ricky can get through this inning. This is going to be his last inning.
This might be his last hitter. Carlos Beltran just broke up A.J. Burnett's no-hitter with 2 outs in the top of the 7th with a double to right center. Bernardino goes down. Nolasco finishes with a strikeout, but the Nationals get that run back. A leadoff double by Harper and a 1-out single by Adam LaRoche. Win in sight.
Never discount this shark.
And after the race, he pulled off one of the octopus arms and beat him over the head with it. I made that part up. You know the reputation he's got, Tommy, on dates.
It's a
handsy.
That's a lawsuit waiting to happen there.
It really is. Yeah, you just be careful there, all right? Just be
See, Billy's giving him instructions. Billy knows the drill.
Yeah. Billy has a good lawyer. Here's Ruggiano who takes outside. Ruggiano, Greg Dobbs, and Austin Kearns here at the bottom of the 6th against Detweiler. One of the impressive things about Detweiler is that he takes a little off the fastball, and when he needs it, he puts a little on.
Yeah, we've seen him a couple of times. We talked about in the scouting report how he'll go upstairs, and when he elevates, he usually elevates the velocity too. We've seen usually 92, 93, but a couple of times we saw 95 when he went up in the zone. And I still think he's only thrown 2 or 3 breaking balls the entire game.
That for Zimmerman is his best throwing position, standing on his head right now.
Yeah, and trying to not thinking, just knowing he has to get rid of it quickly. If he gets a hard one-hopper and has time to think about it, but yeah, when he's in a position like that, he's usually right on the money. But with Detweiler, it just goes to show you how deceptive, how his fastball moves, how a guy can pitch with one pitch.
And his ball strike ratio right now is ridiculous. To show you how efficient he's been. Look at that. 82 pitches, 59 strikes. Dobbs swings, misses, ball and a strike.
Then he just runs it in a little bit. Does that to the lefties. out of Missouri State University. He was a Cardinal fan growing up.
At Ryan Howard School. Dobbs drives that one to left. Harper is there. And Detweiler has a couple outs here in the sixth.
Yeah, Ryan Howard, another St. Louis product.
Boy, the Reds are just hammering the Phils right now. 11-0.
So both clubs had trouble scoring last night.
John Lannon lasted just an inning and 2/3, gave up 6 runs. And out of the bullpen, 5 runs off of Raul Valdez.
Hey, good audio with Greg Gibson. No, no, no. And then he yelled out, Mike, did he go? Mike Estabrook, umpire at first base. And that all because of our audio technician, Mark Butler, the best.
Kearns gets his bat through the zone. He's got a couple hits in the ball game. A 2-out single. That'll bring Olivo up.
Does Mark have a more technical description than audio technician?
I think anytime you put award-winning, critically acclaimed
mixer. I think Mark's mixed more than sound, though, at times.
The many awards that he has, Emmys. I'm sure there's some sort of trophy with a gramophone on top of it for audio guys, much like the Grammys.
Been a nice night, by the way, for Austin Kearns. After, as we described earlier, had to spend the night in the hospital with arrhythmia, and coming back, getting clearance to play, starting tonight, getting a couple of hits.
We got to ask him on the plane how the food was.
Probably not as good as we get on the plane.
Olivo, a 1-1 coming from Detweiler.
Detweiler has only had one 1-2-3 inning. But you pointed out the number of times the Marlins have had opportunities, they haven't been able to come up with that key base hit, with the exception of Solano's 2-out RBI single in the 5th.
One, two. Olivo, soft little ground ball out to second. The flip to Desmond. And the inning is over. 6 innings in the books and 6 nice ones from Ross Detweiler and a 4-1 Nationals lead. in the 7th inning in Miami. You can get tickets for just $5 to any Miami Marlins home game. She'll be there to greet you in April or May, courtesy of Pepsi. Bring your proof of a Pepsi product purchase in the form of a can or receipt to the Marlins Park ticket office and get a Vista Reserve, Vista Box, or Home Run Porch ticket for just $5. Go to Marlins.com for more info.
Hey, kids enjoying tonight. All you can eat. Kids night.
22,302. This is the second largest crowd of the season for the Marlins.
Ryan Webb comes on to take over. And it's an interesting matchup because Ryan Webb, if you go back to 2010, has a terrific ERA against the Nationals.
Well, this was the last at bat by Kurt Suzuki against Ricky Nolasco. Launched one in the 5th inning. Nolasco would go 6 innings, give up a total of 7 hits, and the Nationals scored 4 runs against him. And Ricky's on the hook unless Miami can muster some offense and get back in this thing.
Yeah, you go back to 2010 for Ryan Webb. 15 games, over 21 innings. His ERA against Washington's 0.83, so this has been a good matchup for him.
He's had a good sinker working his last couple appearances.
I think ever since we had him mic'd up during BP.
After the ball game, I ran into him and I said, by the way, nice job on being mic'd up. And the producer rolled in the Badenhop clip, and he said, of course he did, because I just can't live that down.
The Star Wars clip. I gave Rob Brantley the tip of the day too about doing the promos. I said, Rob, you got to have the dark glasses on. Then the folks don't see you reading the script. And he said, yeah, that's right. That's a good idea.
Brantley was critiquing his work today and said, I thought I was smiling until I watched the tape, and I realized I wasn't.
I told him some guy really dissed him with a tweet, but then the guy came back. Remember, the guy came back and said, you know what, I couldn't have done it either.
Suzuki has driven in 2, a sac fly in the 2nd, and a home run here in the 5th.
I think that's the first time I've ever dropped a disc.
And that's another extra base hit. What a night for Suzuki. 2 for 2, homer double. Maybe a triple on his way to 3rd. Pierre had trouble with it, and he's in at 3rd base. We'll see if it's a double and an error or a straight triple.
Suzuki, always one of those catchers that they'll say runs well for a catcher. You don't expect him to pull. He pulls that ball just out of the reach of Polanco. It gets all the way into the corner. Can't quite see what happened to JP down there.
It's a triple.
I'm guessing a triple all the way. Now a must for the infield to come in.
And Detweiler has a chance to add to the lead. He fouls it back. Here's the shot of Juan Pierre. He got it clean.
Picked it right up.
Webb gets a strike. 0-2. Yankees have come back to tie the Diamondbacks 3-3.
So the Nationals head up to New York. But they have tomorrow off while the Mets are freezing in Denver. So the Nats will have a nice day off in the city.
Everyone's hoping for the Matt Harvey-Steven Strasburg matchup. Depending on how things go with the Mets tomorrow, if they stay on rotation. that would open that series on a Friday night in New York.
Those off days and the double headers kind of mess with that rotation.
Detweiler strikes out. Worth comes up. Infield will stay in. Worth is 0 for 3, and this is his first at bat against Ryan Webb.
Worth just happy to see Ricky Nolasco out of the game.
Yeah, the 0 for 3 and not a great career against Nolasco.
4 for 34 in his career against Ricky.
Worth has already hit 3 home runs this season. Remember, he came back off the disabled list last year. And in 54 games after coming off the DL, he hit just 2 home runs.
And he's one of those guys they're locked into, I believe, till 2017.
$7 years, $126 million. And he walks. Lombardozzi now, he's 0 for 3. The Reds, it's 11-0 over the Phillies going into the 7th in Cincinnati. Marlins tomorrow night. Jose Fernandez gets the start. Tony Cingrani, his first major league start. Cingrani is a lefty and a good one. Up the middle by Valaika into center. Lombardozzi delivers. And the Nationals tonight are getting production from guys you don't expect. Guys that when you run through the scouting report are guys that you say, hey, let's go right after Lombardozzi. Let's go right after Suzuki. Let's go right after Bernardina. Those are the guys that have driven in runs.
And now with the walk and the base hit, now you've got to deal with Bryce Harper, who has gotten his average with a 3-hit night up to 358. Hey, you were talking about the lefty the Marlins will see tomorrow night. Cingrani in AAA, 3 starts this year, 26 strikeouts in 14 1/3 innings with just 2 walks.
Webb misses low to Harper. Harper will enjoy tomorrow. It's an off day in New York.
That's exactly right. He'll have a nice, relaxing day, I'm sure.
You think Bryce Harper puts on a ski cap, heads out, and is able to walk around New York without a whole lot of...
I think so.
Put some sunglasses on.
He may go down to the fan cave. By the way, that's why tomorrow night's matchup is going to be so fun. Not only are we getting this left-hander from the Reds, but the Reds get to face Jose Fernandez.
Marlins Live starts it at 6:30.
So I would mark it down as a must-see on a Thursday night.
Runners on the move, and it's fouled off. Counts 2-2. Worth with Lombardozzi behind him. Yeah, I mean, he looks like a guy that's been in bed for 2 days with the flu, and he has. Denard Span out again tonight. He is in uniform, but maybe Johnson does not want to use him at all. Levo out to talk to Webb.
It's a tough call. You and I both know when a couple of guys go down with a bug or something. You got guys who travel together. They're in the dugout together.
Eat together. Pierre makes the catch, and Webb gets Harper, but he still has to get Zimmerman to end this 7th inning. Zimmerman tonight has lined out, struck out, and bounced out. Marlins a win last night, but just a run tonight, and it's kind of back to where they've been for most of the year. Fish come in at 3-11.
Tell you what, it's not an easy task in Cincinnati. We talked about the young lefty tomorrow night. Then it's Matt Latos, Bronson Arroyo, and Homer Bailey coming off a terrific start.
Little dribbler up the line, and it's a foul ball. The Reds tonight have home runs from Todd Frazier and Zach Cozart. And Cincinnati has now hit 18 home runs on the season. Only the Braves, the Rockies, and these Washington Nationals have hit more.
So 18 home runs for the Reds to 3 for the Marlins.
And the next lowest total in the National League to the Marlins, Padres and Pirates with 7 apiece. Zimmerman takes down low. The White Sox are pounding the Blue Jays 7-0. And that is bottom of the 8th inning. That was a Jay Happ start for Toronto. 5 2/3, 5 runs on 6 hits. Marlins have gone into their 4 corners offense right now. This inning is slowed down so much.
This offense shouldn't go into effect when it's getaway night. You should save this.
No. And as Dean Smith clearly stated, you're supposed to have the lead when Phil Ford starts dribbling it out. Swing and a miss. Zimmerman goes down. Webb gets the strikeout. The Nationals add another and lead it 5-1. Let's go, second inning.
All right, we're going to take it to second inning. Adam Roach has hit a couple of balls that way. He picks up an RBI. How about Ian Desmond? He gets one on a ground out. Bernardina picking up an RBI. So the Nationals getting a lead early. There's Kurt Suzuki with a sac fly. Remember that name. You'll see him later in this telecast. There he is. A long shot, a home run into the Clevelander. Marlins are able to peck away a little bit. Chris Valaika getting a start tonight at short doubles. And how about this slide? One of the best slides you're going to see. Around Suzuki, touching the plate, but the Nats just keep putting it on. There's LaRoche with another base hit to left, driving in yet another run. And that's how everything stands right now. 5-1 Washington lead.
And one of the best starters in the National League so far this year is still on the hill. And it's not Strasburger, Gonzalez, or Zimmerman. It's Ross Detweiler. Detweiler starts Valaika off with a fastball for a strike, and fastballs are just about all that Detweiler has thrown tonight. And why not? When you're getting outs and you're tough to pick up, pound that zone.
Now, I was thinking about when I saw that Valaika slide. Wasn't quite the matrix slide of Omar Infante, which is pretty remarkable.
Which was against the Nationals in Washington, D.C.
But a tremendous slide tonight. He's had a nice game.
Oh, 2. He busts out a breaking ball. Detweiler's ERA right now with these 6 innings is 0.95, and this is start number 3 for him. How nice is that if you're Davey Johnson and at the back of your rotation, Tyler Clippard getting one. The back of your rotation, you've got a guy who is in the top 6 in earned run average.
Ten wins last year for Detweiler in his 27 starts.
He had a nice ERA. Didn't get a whole lot of support.
Now we're going to get to see Joe Mahoney, the on-deck circle.
Here's a 1-2. Valaika fouls it out of play. Chad Qualls in Miami's pen. Bottom 7. 5-1 Washington. This pop-up probably playable. LaRoche is there and he makes the catch. The Marlins in camp were looking for first baseman. Casey Kochman was terrific in camp, but he pulled a hamstring first week of the season. Joe Mahoney impressed in camp. Well, Mahoney never made it out of camp healthy. He was injured with an intercostal strain.
He impressed with his 3 home runs in spring training.
Once Kochman went down, everyone looked to Mahoney because Logan Morrison is a month and a half away from being eligible to come off the DL. And so here's Mahoney, big guy out of the University of Richmond.
Yeah, 6th round pick of the Orioles, 26-year-old Joe Mahoney. To get himself ready, he played in a handful of games in Jupiter for the Hammerheads, and all he did was go 7 for 16 with a home run. There are his numbers in those 4 rehab games.
Broken bat. Desmond bobbles it, and Mahoney is aboard. And Desmond, who has been brilliant this series at shortstop, that one had a little funk on it. Came off the end of the bat and busted the bat, and Desmond was never able to squeeze it.
Yeah, when you hear the bat break, as it did, the ball's going to have some funny spin. It kind of climbed up the wrist of Ian Desmond, his 5th error of the year.
So a base runner, Pierre. This is the 4th at bat for Pierre against Detweiler, and he is 0 for 3. JP was in the box when that ball hit him.
I think when it's all said and done, too, Rich, the best thing for Kyle Skipworth, who was sent back to the minor leagues to make room for Mahoney, best thing for him is to just go back and play. Play at the AAA level, play every day.
Pierre, a ground ball. LaRoche handles it. Desmond will eat it, with Pierre getting up the line quickly. We check in with Craig Minervini.
Guys, you mentioned the matchup tomorrow. Let's take a little closer look at it. It's amazing. These two guys in the minors last year were 24-5 with an ERA about 1.74, as Jose Fernandez went 14-1 with a 1.75 ERA, and lefty Tony Cingrani went 10-4 with a 1.73. Look at his walk to strikeout ratio so far this year. Not allowed a run, and 14 in the third. On the right there, the lefty is 23. He's out of Rice. Jose Fernandez, you know the great start he's off to with a 0.82. Really could add a couple of wins. We talked with Jose today. We'll have some reaction from him on the start coming up on our Marlins Eye post game with Jeff Conine coming up in just a bit. Guys, back to you.
Thank you, Craig. So Mahoney erased. And now Solano.
Told you Donovan now 4 for 8 in his career off Detweiler. One of the few pitchers that we're going to see all year, probably, that throws primarily fastballs, a handful of breaking balls.
And you don't see that from lefties, especially.
And you're not seeing guys squaring up the ball. You're seeing guys getting jammed. You're seeing a lot of foul balls the other way. .106 pitches for him tonight. It's a season high, so you have to figure this is his last inning. We saw Clippard loosening up in their bullpen.
Ground ball third. Zimmerman wings it over to second in time to get Pierre. To the 8th, Nationals in control 5-1. Top of the 8th. And here comes the smiling red car with tomorrow's starters from Chevron. Jose Fernandez, of course, just an incredible story of him escaping from Cuba and dodging bullets and saving his mom in the ocean and going to Tampa, and now makes his 3rd major league start. Cingrani makes his 1st major league start, not his major league debut. Cingrani's another interesting cat in that he was so bad his junior year at Rice. He actually asked the coaches if they wanted him to come back for his senior year. There's Chad Qualls who comes in, and apparently the coaches said, yeah, why don't you come back? And by the way, try this new delivery. We're going to simplify things.
And he wasn't a starter either.
He was their closer. All of a sudden, with the new delivery, became a dominant closer. And now he's shot through the Reds ranks as a dominant starter. LaRoche against Qualls on this Wednesday night here in Miami. Toyota trend, the Nationals 8-1 when leading after 7 innings this season. Remember, they've had bullpen issues in terms of ERA. That one loss, I suspect, was the Friday night game against Atlanta up in D.C. when the Braves came back, tied it and won it late. LaRoche pounds it out towards second. Solano steps on the dirt to get it.
I like the way Donovan came off the grass to make sure he fielded it on the dirt because he was way back in the shift.
Poll question: do you prefer the Marlins Park roof open in April? Heck yes. I think is how you can interpret that. Our professional,
a resounding majority.
Professional pollsters that pick apart such data. Desmond swings and misses. A single for Desmond, a stolen base, a run scored, and quite a series. 6 hits in 12 at bats in the series. 3 doubles. Mariano Rivera's on the mound for the Yankees, trying to shut down Arizona with 2 outs in the 9th. Yankees were down 3-0.
Kind of a matchup of the Diamondbacks and Yankees World Series.
Where's Gonzo when you need him?
Yeah, that's what they're asking.
Craig Counsell was involved in that inning as well. Qualls with a count 1-2. Qualls is very workmanlike, very serious.
Tell you what, he's got good life on his fastball. That was a slider there, but his fastball's 92, 93 miles an hour, has some good sink to it. Over the years, been a solid reliever. At one time in 2009 with the Diamondbacks, he was their closer. He had 24 saves. 2 saves the next year, but you know, for the most part, he's been one of those 7th, 8th inning guys that, as you pointed out, just comes in and does his job. Pitched in a World Series against the White Sox.
As an Astro. Down goes Desmond. And up comes Bernardino. So 2 outs here in the 8th. The day off for the Nationals should give Denard Span a chance to recover as they face the Mets on a Friday night. Marlins and Reds tomorrow night. The kid throws tomorrow night. Jose Fernandez against the lefty Tony Cingrani, who has been devastating on his way up.
Chad Qualls out of the University of Nevada, Reno.
Brett Hayes, former Marlin, was a shortstop at Nevada. Two and one. That's a great place to hit, too, by the way. Reno. Good elevation.
It's not quite Denver, but
the Sierra Nevadas, Lake Tahoe nearby.
Got to be a beautiful campus. Some great campuses. You know, we talk about different players. You mentioned UC Santa Barbara, Chris Valaika.
That's a terrific place. Pepperdine University.
Pepperdine.
With Dan Herron. Broken bat. And Valaika's there, and he makes the catch. So Qualls goes 1-2-3 through the eighth. Miami needs some runs. Ladies and gentlemen, the energy team is out there as if the Clevelander needs any more energy. A little something for the kids.
That's a great spot.
We promise camera 12 will be up and running next homestand.
Chad Tracy comes into the game in a double switch. He'll hit in the number 9 spot. Tyler Clippard will bat in Zimmerman's spot.
You know, the interesting thing is,
we talked about this last night, too.
He double switched for Zimmerman and not LaRoche, because Tracy's probably a better first baseman than he is a third baseman. But Davey Johnson leaves the Gold Glover out there first. Zimmerman has had throwing issues, and so that's the move that Johnson makes. Tyler Clippard. Placido Polanco takes a strike.
Well, all Detweiler did was lower his ERA to 0.90, 7 innings, 7 hits, 1 run, no walks, 5 strikeouts, and I think only 4 breaking balls.
That's amazing. In this day and age, where some pitchers pride themselves in having 4 or 5 pitches as a starter, for Detweiler to just go out there and throw fastballs and get outs and get wins. Polanco. And he takes up.
First Clippard we've seen over the last few years, that herky-jerky delivery, the good fastball, the change-up, little breaking ball, but always has pitched well against the Marlins.
Polanco drives it to left. Harper is there. And he makes the catch. Yeah, Clippard pitched in 2 of the 3 games in D.C. MLB.TV is celebrating 11 years. You can join millions of fans and subscribe today. Watch every out-of-market game live online on your favorite mobile and connected devices in HD quality with MLB.TV Premium. Visit MLB.TV today. Ruggiano goes after a first pitch fastball and hits it out into center field. Bernardina patrolling out there. Clippard with 2 quick outs, 2 fly ball outs, and here comes Dobbs.
Been a pretty good series for Greg Dobbs with his 4 for 10. He's close to a 300 career hitter against Washington, too.
Dobbs a single back in the second. All of his ABs against Detweiler tonight. Detweiler finally in line to get a decision. He pitched well, but had 2 no decisions.
Clippard, one of those pitchers, because of that good changeup, he can work up in the strike zone with his fastball. Changes your eye level.
Dobbs fouls it back.
About 10 miles an hour differential in his fastball and changeup.
Marlins Live starts it at 6:30. Greg Minervini and Preston Wilson from the studio tomorrow night.
I wonder if Preston will wear a pocket square in our honor now that we're wearing one, because he's helped our dress code.
Helped the Q rating.
Yeah.
Two and two to Dobbs. A.J. Burnett ended up going 7 innings and gave up a hit. He lost his no-hitter with, 2 outs in the 7th to Carlos Beltran. Dobbs swings and misses. Tyler Clippard is really good. And he goes 1-2-3 through the 8th. On to the 9th, 5-1 Washington. on top of the Marlins. Out there with a pile of papers is, or was, Craig Minervini. You can see his papers blowing in the wind. The breeze out in center field. That's Marlins Live. That's coming up. Jeff Conine with his perfect posture. Steve Cishek into the ball game. Another rough night for Miami offensively in what has been an early season filled with that. The Fish, unless they come up with 4 runs at the very least, are going to be 3-12.
You mentioned it earlier, Rich, and it needs mentioning again. The Marlins, because of the offense, the way it stands right now, especially with Stanton out in the lineup, if they get down early in a game, it's difficult. It's hard for them to come back because they don't have that firepower, the couple guys who can go deep and get you a crooked number or two. They were able to do that last night. That's why they need that big guy back in the lineup.
Kurt Suzuki takes a breaking ball from Cishek.
A good call to get Cishek in there. The last couple of outings for him have been real good, and he needs to keep that and maintain that consistency.
This was a Ricky Nolasco start. 6 innings, 7 hits, 4 runs, no walks, and 6 strikeouts. Ryan Webb an inning, a couple hits, and an add-on run for the Nationals.
Okay, Suzuki might have his on-base percentage back to 500. Sac fly, a couple of hits, 7 total bases tonight.
Home run, triple. Cishek trying to stay sharp as a closer for a team that hasn't had a whole lot of closing to be done. Dots the outside corner, and Cishek gets a strikeout. Suzuki retired. Here comes Chad Tracy.
He can dot that outside corner with that fastball or that sweeping breaking pitch.
Tracy, a liner. Polanco is there. Cishek has a couple outs here in the 9th inning. Well, the Reds have swept the Phillies somewhat. A suspended game last night. The Reds won in 10 minutes, 1-0. Aroldis Chapman getting the win. And then in the nightcap, Mike Leake was terrific. And the Reds heaped runs and scorn on the Phillies, 11-2 to win 2 games today. Snow wiped out a game in Colorado between the Mets and the Rockies. Freezing rain wiped out the Angels and the Twins in Minneapolis, and rain wiped out Texas at the Cubs. Rafael Soriano. Worth is checking.
He's saying, what'd you say? Is that a swing?
Yes.
He's trying his best to not completely look at Gibson, but to give him an idea of what he thought of that call.
Worth fouls that one into the dugout. He just turned around and said, now that's a swing. Cishek misses away 1 and 2.
I think Greg Gibson is becoming one of our favorites. Does a nice job back there. Lets you know, takes charge of the game.
He's like the third man in the booth.
Yeah.
Bouncer, and it eats Valaika up.
Well, it would have been a tough play to backhand and come up and throw Jason Worth out, who was getting up the line in a hurry. He's going to be charged with an error. He was a couple of steps on the grass when the ball came up, and he bobbled it. So it's going to be an error, but a difficult play.
Lombardozzi sends it into right field. Kearns over to get it. Worth going first to third. And the Nationals, with 2 outs, have something going. And they've got Bryce Harper coming up. 2 more hits for Lombardozzi, who has a pair of hits in every game of the series.
Yeah, last night, the ball game, Lombardozzi was 2 for 4 with an RBI, 2 for 5 with an RBI in the first game of the series.
Now that was fun. That was Cishek rearing back and giving everything he had, and that was Harper coming out almost out of the whatever shoes he wears on the swing.
At least he's not wearing those two-tone shoes that Carl Crawford was wearing the other night in the Dodger game.
I think he's sporting Under Armours up there at the plate.
Yeah, it was a one-time thing. Crawford got word from Major League Baseball that, but he had 1 white shoe and 1 blue shoe. Hasn't affected him, though, but he's off to a great start.
Cishek sporting New Balance, which has made inroads into baseball. And it's only fitting because New Balance headquarters are in Boston. And Cishek, a Massachusetts guy.
You have not. He's also supporting Stirrups.
That's right. That's old school. New school, old school. New Balance and Stirrups. It's going to be a tough play. Valaika, and Harper beats it. Good hustle by Harper. An infield hit. The error by Valaika opening the door, and the Nationals walk through and lead it 6-1. You watch this game and you look at the score and you think, wow, the Nationals blew out the Marlins. But Miami has had as many opportunities as Washington with runners on base, but the Nationals have taken advantage. They've done the little things right, the hustle plays right. And Harper, as sick as he is, got down the line and got the hit.
4-hit game, 4 for 5.
That's a great look of Harper coming down and almost running out from under his helmet.
Mm-hmm. Pete Rosish.
Rosie Reddish.
I know you just can't wait.
I've been practicing all my lines.
Yeah, to get to Cincinnati. See if Rosie Red comes up to the booth.
You got to think she'll remember me. At least you would hope.
I'm sure you hope.
Tyler Moore getting the at-bat here. This is the pitcher spot, Zimmerman's old spot. Polanco goes down to get a tricky hop and flips to second in time. It's an unearned run, but a run nonetheless, and a 6-1 Nationals lead. A struggle for Miami to score runs all season. Just one tonight. Ross Detweiler, outstanding, and in a spot to pick up his first win. We've seen Tyler Clippard now meet Rafael Soriano. Look at his ERA. That certainly doesn't fit the profile of Soriano. A 6.00 ERA.
Well, it's certainly going to get him some work here tonight. I think, as you pointed out, this breaks it down as simple as you can. Last night's game compared to tonight's game. Last night's game, the Marlins were 6 for 9, runners in scoring position, left 4 men on base. Tonight, 1 for 7 with runners in scoring position. They've left 7 men on base.
Austin Kearns, Miguel Olivo, and Chris Valaika. Soriano's kind of turned into a hired gun, so to speak, at the back of bullpens. He was certainly a godsend for the Yankees with the injury. Mariano Rivera had a nice, albeit brief, run with the Rays. The Braves. That's Suzuki getting it off the right foot. And a sharp breaking ball. Kearns goes down. Road trip on to Cincinnati. The Redlegs will be there. Joey Votto will be swinging it.
He's always there.
And the Reds are hot right now. They took 2 today from the Phillies. Scored 11 runs against the Phillies. Then darkness will fall. And then light again. Brandon Phillips will light it up with his smile. Bronson Arroyo, the pride of Key West. I think the darkness in that montage there represented the storms that are forecast for Friday night, because darkness and rain.
Thursday night looks okay. Saturday and Sunday be a little cooler. Looks okay. Friday, a little darkness.
And then Brandon Phillips said, "Let there be light." Soriano had a hard time staying healthy in his early years with Seattle. He's one of those guys, Tommy, who was an outfielder when he signed. Didn't hit a lot. And someone in Seattle's organization said, "Son, you have one of the best throwing arms I've ever seen on an outfielder, but you can't hit a lick. So why don't you go down there and climb up on that hill and start to pitch?" He did that back in 1998 after he hit 167 in rookie ball in Arizona.
We got to ask him sometime how the transition was and how he accepted the fact that he could no longer hit.
I think if he realized he never could hit in the first place, it was easier. Soriano is terrific. He nails it down on a night where Ross Detweiler's fastballs did the Marlins in. And the offensive struggles continue for Miami. Bryce Harper with a 4-hit night. Kurt Suzuki with a homer and a triple. Added up at 6-1 Nationals.